We seem to be getting more and more people every year. I guess that is the point. It's really great to see you all. I like this format. I don't have to sit through everyone else's speeches. I can get on and start talking straight away. So thank you. It's great to be back. You may notice that the air conditioning is not perfect. I apologize, and as you might notice, I'm going to add to the hot air, so excuse me. Welcome, everyone. Unfortunately, we last had this get-together in September 22, and it's as long as it feels. I want to say thanks to all the alumni who are here today for having given up your time to be here. We know you've got busy lives and hopefully lots of work, but we really do appreciate your being part of this event and acting as role models to our scholars who we have here tonight. Thanks to the steering committee members for all that you do. To those who are joining this event for the first time, welcome. I hope you have had a good few days and are going to enjoy this evening. To all the new students, we hope that your time with the Moshal program is one of growth, learning, and great success as you move forward with this, the next stage of your life. And of course, I don't know where they're sitting, a special thank you to the Moshal program team for everything you have done. Thanks to Yael, sitting over there, and a well done and thank you to Knox, sitting over there, our newish SA country manager, and also to her whole team for tonight, and more importantly, what they do throughout the year. I don't speak as often as I would like with them, but I personally appreciate all that you do for the students and the program throughout the year. You make it look easy. And a special welcome to Ohad Gross, our new CEO of the Moshal program. Not sure where he's, there he is, right over there. Okay, that makes it quite easy. Right. I would also like to thank our corporate partners who have been exhibiting and are with us tonight. I cannot overemphasize what an important part they are to the Moshal program. Our objective, as you know, is to ensure that armed with our support, we can substantially improve the trajectory of the life of our students, their family, and their community. We could not do that without our corporate partners who assist in working with us during and after your graduation to place you and continue to provide training to you in the best jobs possible. Sorry to tell you, your education does not stop just at university. It continues through life, and our corporate partners are an important part of that. Of course, in my opinion, I think they're exceptionally lucky to get first chance to hire Moshal scholars, because I believe that our scholars are the best in the business. Hardworking, tenacious, with a tremendous amount of grit. I feel especially honored to have South Africa's Chief Rabbi, Warren Goldstein, joining us tonight. And we are all especially fortunate to have in our midst one of South Africa's leading businessmen, and quite possibly its greatest philanthropist ever. I'm proud to call him my mentor and friend, Natie Kirsch. He is almost 94 years old, remembers everything, yet has still forgotten more than I will ever know. And of course, I want to thank some of my work and charitable colleagues who are here tonight together with my friends. And finally, a welcome to everyone else who I might have missed out. In tonight's celebrations, it would be remiss not to mention the hardships being endured by all our Moshal scholars and alumni in Israel. We hope and pray for the immediate release of all hostages being held by Hamas, the safety and security of all our scholars and alumni, and an end to the terrible suffering of all in the region. We also mourn the loss of our own, Rafael Elias Moshayev, tragically killed this January defending his people and his country. He was an energetic, driven Moshal scholar and an inspiration to so many other Moshal students, encouraging and mentoring them. We hope that his memory will be a blessing to his family and to all of us. Every year, I try to come up with a topic to talk about that I hope will be of interest to all of you. Now that we have been at this for a few years, I intend to start recycling my speeches. Our Moshal students, our new Moshal students won't know, and the alumni probably won't notice. With the advent of AI, it's becoming even easier to disguise my old speeches so as to sound completely different. The reality is this year I didn't have the guts and I was starting to feel a bit guilty. So I'm going to come up with something original. Please note this could very well be the last speech that I actually write myself. And I thought this year I'm going to talk about a topic that I very rarely speak about in public and not much in private either. I'm going to talk about myself. Please indulge me for the next few minutes. I hope I don't bore you too much. I can assure you there'll probably be a point to all of this in the end. This isn't going to be about my favorite food, my favorite color, or my favorite wife. Fun fact, I only have one. I love my wife, but one is enough. Okay. Is this being recorded? Okay. For those interested, I was born in Durban, South Africa in 1970. But, yeah, there we go, yes. Okay. We got some Durbanites in the room. Yay, brilliant. I don't want to be biased, but everyone knows that Durbanites are the best, right? But these aren't really the facts I want to talk about. I want to take a broader view of how I got to be here, the 100,000-foot view. To keep it brief, I'm going to keep it to the last 150 years. Yeah, right, guys, settle in. Yeah. If you need water, put your hand up and we'll have somebody bring it round. My great-grandparents on my mom and dad's side come from Latvia in Eastern Europe. They fled the country, then under Russian rule, out of fear of pogroms and seeking a better life for their families. Within our family, we never discussed our history beyond the arrival of my great-grandparents from abroad and a general understanding that life became very tough for Jews in Eastern Europe in the 1880s. So I Googled a bit of history. This is what I learned from the Library of Congress website. In the 1880s, the Jewish communities of Eastern Europe were overwhelmed by a wave of state-sponsored murder and destruction. The assassination of the Tsar in 1881 was blamed falsely on a Jewish conspiracy, and these state-sponsored massacres came to be known as pogroms. They had occurred previously, unfortunately, many times in history in many places. But these particular events came to be called pogroms since this was the Russian word meaning to wreak havoc or to demolish violently. It came into common usage with these particular and extensive anti-Jewish riots. For Jewish residents who were already struggling to survive famines and land shortages, this represented the breaking point and caused a massive human migration. Jewish immigrants fled by any means possible to wherever they could go, defying the Tsar's laws against immigration. Many fled by night, eluding Russian border guards and murderous highway gangs and bribing officials to get safe passage. In the 1880s, more than 200,000 Eastern European Jews arrived in the US alone, The next decade, the number was 300,000, and between 1900 and 1914, it topped 1.5 million. But Jews fled all around the world to wherever they could go. Some came to South Africa. My mom's grandfather was one of those who stowed away on a boat at the age of 15, never to see his family again. The rest of my great-grandparents arrived at similar times, give or take a few years. The stage was being set for me. The Moshal side of the family eventually settled in Durban, and it was not easy at first. They had large families, and education, always prized, was not always affordable. It was always understood, though, how important education was. My Uncle Sol, my grandfather Max's brother, although being exceptionally bright, had to drop out of school at the age of 13 or 14 as he was needed to earn a living for the family. His hard work put his brothers through school, including Yael's grandfather Barney. Sol eventually went on to become one of South Africa's most accomplished businessmen. Baka, the stowaway, my mom's grandfather, went on to make a fortune through his hard work and effort, owning many properties here in Johannesburg. My wife's family were not as lucky. While her maternal grandparents and great-grandparents were fortunate enough to make it to South Africa, her dad's parents had to endure the concentration camps of Auschwitz and various labor camps before returning to Hungary and finally immigrating to Israel. Their living parents had been murdered in the gas chambers, with her dad's paternal grandmother's body being thrown out of a train somewhere in Europe en route to a concentration camp. From generation to generation, my grandparents and parents worked hard, culminating in their ultimate achievement, me. Right. I hope you note the sarcasm there. And quite honestly, I think my siblings and my cousins might disagree. But what is the point of all this? One of the many questions I'm often asked is, why did I start the Moshal program? Why education? As you'll have heard, my family history has primed me to appreciate the importance of education as security in a hostile world and as a means to look after oneself and family. My Jewish religion considers learning an ultimate goal in and of itself. As a business person, I understand the return of investment of a good education. Putting all this together, when it was time to give back, starting in education was one of the most obvious places to begin. The leverage in your education is enormous, and I'm greedy. So all your future successes, I'm going to credit to me. For the cost of a few years' education, your future earnings and potential can be massively improved. At my school in Durban, called Carmel College, our motto was Torah Or, which very loosely is translated as knowledge is light. I guess I took it literally, and in wanting to spread light, I chose to spread knowledge. An interesting anecdote, a few days ago in Australia, I went to go pick up my daughter from a party. The birthday girl's grandfather, on hearing my surname, approached me and told me that my Uncle Sol, who I mentioned earlier, had made an offer to his cousin to go to university in Durban as they were unable to afford it. As it happens, the student that he was going to give a scholarship to managed to get one somewhere else. The person who got that scholarship was a local Durban boy called Aaron Klug, who went on to win the 1982 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. I took away from this two things. Clearly, my funding scholarships wasn't an original idea, even in the family. And I'm hoping that at least one of our scholars, maybe some of them sitting here today, are going to win a Nobel Prize. In summary, and I'm getting to the end, you'll be happy to know, okay, you will now appreciate that I appreciate the importance of a good education to ensure a good future for generations to come. But all of this is not the main point of my story. The main point of the story and the lessons I would love for you to learn are the following. If this is all you remember tonight, that is enough. Hardship need not be a barrier to success. As you can see, it can form the foundation of success. Your past does not determine the future. What you do now in the present does. Don't ever let your past, your history, hold you back. Together with us at the Moshal program, we will help you to use as a foundation to build a better future. Like my wife and my great-grandparents, you have an opportunity to change the trajectory of your life, your family, and your wider community. You hold your future in your hands. We will walk alongside you and help you to ensure your future is a bright one. Ultimately, though, even while we walk alongside you, it is you alone that will determine your success. Finally, you are now writing your own story. In a few years' time, perhaps you, your children, or perhaps your grandchildren or great-grandchildren will be standing in front of a crowd like this, only hopefully bigger, talking about you and your achievements and all that you did to make their lives better. I hope and pray that this is the case. Please work hard, do well, and pay it forward. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now get to my favorite part. That's where you get to ask questions. So there'll probably be someone walking around with a microphone to ask a question. And if it's not the first question that you should be asking, the obvious one, I'm going to answer the obvious one anyway. Any questions? Okay. Right, we've got one here, I think.
Hi, Martin. My name is Claver. This is not a question. It's just an opportunity for me to announce it. I'm actually aiming for a Nobel Prize in physics, so.
Hey, good. Whoa, guys, let's not get too excited. I love the ambition, it's great. But we're going to give him an even bigger cheer when you get it. But that's brilliant.
Yeah, if I don't get it, I'll make sure that I make many children, and one of them will win it and attribute it.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that credit as well. Okay, but I look forward to it. Okay, guys, you all heard it here first, eh? Our first Nobel Prize winner. I'm going to answer the question that nobody's asked yet. You'll see Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And you might be wondering why it's up there. It's up there for two reasons. One, Yael had it on her presentation earlier, and I said, yep, I want that slide. But where she got it from and where I got it from is young Natie Kirsch sitting over here. Now, Oh, the Places You'll Go is a book written by Dr. Seuss that Natie told me, see, I do listen to you, Natie. Natie told me a few years ago that he gives to every one of his executives when they join the firm. So I strongly suggest you go and buy this book. It's called Oh, the Places You Will Go by Dr. Seuss. It's got lots of pictures, so don't worry, it's not too hard to read. And it really tells you everything you probably need to do to know about life, or certainly a lot of it. So That's why it's there. And with Nate sitting right over here, I wanted him to see that I have learned something from the many, many hours we spent talking together. Right, any more questions? There are a lot of you. There got to be tons of questions. Right, we got one over there.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Martin.
Nobel Prize in Peace, Chemistry, Economics.
Maybe, but my question is, if you had to look back and point out 3 habits or things that you think you did that made you to get where you are, what would they be?
Good question. I think it was, have I got any habits or anything like that? Can I point to my success? I've got a lot of bad habits. My wife would tell you that. My kids will. My mom would definitely tell you that. I think the good habits were wanting to work hard, being prepared to work hard, and wanting to achieve and do things. Whether you call it a habit, it's, I think, being able to, if anything, I won't necessarily call it a habit, but what I do often say is I can learn from everything. You know, I can learn from the good that people do, and when I see what people do well, I can learn from that. And I can also learn from when people do wrong. In fact, there's no one that I've ever met that I cannot learn from, either in the positive or negative. So very much I try and keep learning, always learning, trying to see how I can improve. But perhaps in my mind, I'm more aware of all my failures and all the things I got wrong than what I get right. What I often tell to people in business, I said, don't bring me the good news. There's nothing I can do with good news. Give me the bad news, because then I can do something, to make it better. So I think, it's maybe don't get too excited about the good stuff and don't get too upset about the bad stuff. Not always easy, but, that might make life a bit more comfortable. Bit of an answer. Any more questions? Otherwise, we're just going to have to feed you, I think. Okay.
Hello, Martin. Nice to meet you. So I have a question about, today we heard through all the sessions, and I guess we've been hearing for the past few years about all these things about AI and all of these things. And I heard somewhere, these experts, one of them said something that stuck with me, saying one of the biggest risks of AI, on top of course, replacing people and all of those fears and stuff, it's just the social risk it represents in the sense that, for example, a lot of the people in this room, we of course, we work hard, of course, we are just barely a % of young people, for example, and the people who may be outside of this room, those are the people who, in the future and how things are going, who may then be excluded in the value and the economy that we're building. So I just want to hear your thoughts about that, and specifically, and what you would say our role is, what we should put in mind in terms of being the leaders of tomorrow, the people who, who remember that, where we're coming from in the country we're in, there are people who are excluded, and there are people who we should be really working hard to think about how can we reinvent the economy, really?
I think it's an excellent question. I think if the question is, what about AI and how am I going to make a living, if I take that as a summary, I'm naturally an optimist. So will AI take some jobs? Yes. But I also believe it'll create a lot more jobs. I don't know what those jobs are. If you go and look at the term Luddite, it talks about the 19th century individuals who were breaking, I think, various engines in various industrial areas because they thought they were taking jobs. So I am an optimist. There are experts, perhaps a lot smarter than me, who thinks that there's not going to be work for anyone, and we're all going to be sitting on the beach or rioting, one or the other, depending whether it's dystopian or utopian. I'm an optimist. I think as humans, we will work out stuff to do. What we've got is in AI, we're going to have much, much better tools, and those tools are going to be brilliant. They're going to be some of the most advanced tools man has ever been able to think of. But I do believe that there's always going to be a role for humans, because humans tend to like humans, and we tend to interact with each other and everything else. As a backup, maybe take a barista course so you can at least make good coffee, because people always want coffee from individuals. But on a more serious note, I am not worried. I think humans are smart enough to make sure that there are always opportunities for them. What I think is definitely the case, and I think this is something that all of you who are at university need to understand, is the roles that you are going to have in let's say, 10 years' time, 15 years' time, and 20 years' time are going to be very, very different to the roles that you might be getting in the next 5 years. So what that means, and it's what I said in the speech, you're never going to stop learning. In fact, it's going to become harder now as we move into this new world, where you're going to have to always be reinventing yourself, always be reinventing your career, always learning, so you can actually make sure you are valuable either as a staff member or in your own business. And I think that is perhaps the key takeaway, is you're going to have to be flexible, and you're going to have to manage your own career. You're going to have to manage your own finances. You can't really rely on being in a job, maybe in a company, but in a job, and doing the same thing for the next couple of decades. Those days, I think, are going to be over. I think we're all going to be a bit gobsmacked at the speed at which AI comes in. We might be gobsmacked at the speed within which self-driving cars come in. But there will be massive, massive opportunities as well. So I don't think we need to worry, but I do think we need to keep our eye on the opportunity, and also make sure that you position yourself in a way where you are less replaceable by a computer. We got some questions down there.
Hi, Martin. So
Hi.
I think some of the alumni are on the marriage track, and some of them are new moms and dads. So as someone that we look up to, what would you say is the secret to a happy marriage, especially for someone who's very ambitious, tends to travel a lot? How do you, keep your marriage healthy?
It's a very good question. And I must tell you, and this is the honest truth, my wife is very, very happily married, okay? So she's very lucky, okay? It's amazing how brave I am when she's asleep 6,000 miles away. But I was actually a late starter, so I actually still have young kids. I've got 4 kids. My youngest is 6.5. And she's very cute. She gives her mom hugs every day, and I get it once a week if I'm lucky. But she teases me. But the fact is, it's hard. When you have kids and, marriage, it's difficult. There are going to be ups and downs. I can't say I've perfected it. It's something you learn every day. But I think it's something where you grow with your wife. She's your ultimate partner in the journey of life. And again, it depends on your view. But to me, there's a time for everything. When you're young and single, you do certain things and so on. And as you get married and have kids, your responsibilities change. And therefore, you should be behaving differently, more focused on the family, certainly more focused on the career in the early days so you can look after the family. And the idea is that hopefully you can bring them up to be, great people. And so the cycle continues. So I'm not saying I'm an expert in it. I'd say I am trying my best. I think my kids quite like me, and my wife still seems quite fond of me. So, I probably can't complain too much. But I actually, in all fairness, I got very lucky in the lady who eventually agreed to say yes. It continues, and she's my life partner, and I'm very lucky to have her. So I think there's one more thing as well, is it's called the expert fallacy, that if somebody is perceived as an expert in one thing, they're automatically considered to be an expert in others. There are not that many things I'm an expert in, and marriage probably isn't one of them, but I'll keep trying, and the fact is it's always going to be hard. You're never going to spend enough time with your kids, your wife, your work, and so on. I was chatting to some work colleagues a few weeks ago, mostly ladies actually, because the reality is ladies tend to feel much more guilty about abandoning their kids than men. I think it's just the way they're genetically built, and they were kind of worried and anxious about whether they were spending enough time with work or with their family and so on. And what I told them, I said, it's always going to be like that. You're never going to be able to spend all your time with your family, all your time at work, all your time doing these things. So you're always going to be stressed that you're never devoting enough time to whatever it is you think you should be doing. That's normal, and you'll work it out, you'll make mistakes, but you'll work out what is best for you in the future. Yep, question there.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you so much for funding us, and especially myself. Yes, I was also funded my honor, so I'm really appreciative of that opportunity. So I have two questions for you this evening. One question is, what's one mistake that most ambitious people make, and how can it be avoided? And the other question is, have you seen yourself being a billionaire while you were young, or did you make affirmations, or was it an incentive from giving back?
Good. Right, so the first question was, if I understand it right, I'm getting old. The first question was, sorry, can you just repeat it? It is 4:45 in Sydney time, yeah.
Oh, the question is, what's one mistake that most ambitious people make while on their way to success?
Forgetfulness. People ask them a question and they forget what the question is. It's interesting because I'm probably not an expert on what mistakes most people make. I think people are often far more scared of failing than they should be. I think that's possibly it. And as I've said on other speeches, it's not how many times you fall, it's how often you get up and how you get up. And I think that really is don't be afraid to fail. And I think when you look at the people who are successful, they'll be able to point to tons and tons of failures. I think I've failed far more times than I've succeeded. What you tend to say is, if you're betting on something, it's not how many times your bet comes off. It's how much money you've got relying on the bets that you win. And I think really it's a matter of realizing that if you do reach for the stars, sometimes you will fail, but it doesn't matter because you only might reach the sky. So I think it's an irrational fear of failure that might hold people back more than is required. All right, and then your second question, if you can remind me that again. Geez, I'm getting old, hey? That's,
The second question was around when you were young, did you see yourself?
Oh, yes. No, actually, I haven't done as well as I'd hoped, but I'm still... yeah, it's... Guys, that's actually true, unfortunately. I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that I haven't done as well as I've hoped, but I'm still working at it. And again, like I said, if you reach for the stars and you only reach for the sky, it's okay. I reached for the stars. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm very, very grateful for everything that I have. I've been very lucky. and I'm very grateful for all that I have, but I still want to continue and try and do more. Got one more over there, and I don't know how we are for time, and we got one over here and one over there. So, all
I
right.
think, hello? Can I go ahead?
Right.
Hello?
Okay, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Martin. My name is Katleho, and I'd like to, you sort of answered it a bit there, but I want to find out how and when do you know to give up? So the sunk cost fallacy, maybe from yourself or your peers in pursuit of a business idea, certain career path, whatever the case may be, but knowing that this is probably the time to quit and pursue another business.
So the question is, if you're trying something, how do you know when to give up? That's an excellent question, because they kind of say geniuses continue where the fools stopped, but at the same time they say there's no point in flogging a dead horse. It's a hard one. It's a very, very hard one, and there's no exact answer. I think that's the art or science that determines success. I think what it really comes down to is trying to be rational where you can, having heart in it, but also being able to step away and be able to rationally take a different view and perspective on it. But it's often the people who say it can't be done who end up being wrong, and it's the guy who says it can be done that ends up succeeding. It's a very, very hard one. And I've often thought of that. I'm not sure what the answer is. It's a bit of luck and, just trying to be able to look at it from all angles. Okay, it's one more question. So Knox is here. She's giving me looks that I thought only my wife gave me. Okay.
Hello.
Right, there we go.
Good evening. We spent the better half of the morning reflecting on where Moshal has been in the last few years. And I just wanted to find out from you, as the visionary of the program, where do you see us going in the future?
Great question. The question is, where do I see the Moshal program going in the future? Ultimately, and I mentioned it in a video interview that I gave a bit earlier today, I think so far it's been a pretty successful project or prototype. And what we've actually seen is we've seen that it works. We've seen that the returns are excellent, probably better than most returns in most contributions, in the investments we are making in people's education. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see it much bigger. I'd like to see the Moshal program bigger. I'd like to potentially see we will have partners, and we've talked about it already in Israel. We have one group, a friend of mine called Mark Scheinberg, who's donating, I think, for how many? 50 scholars, and they're called the Scheinberg Moshal Scholars. And I'm hoping that there will be others, so that it won't just be a Moshal scholar, it'll be a something and a Moshal scholar. So hopefully that will give us a bit more money to grow our Moshal program quite substantially. And then ultimately we want to create a white paper, and we're doing this already at the moment, where we will give a prototype and say to anyone who wants to replicate the Moshal program how to do it. We'll say, here's our learnings, here's what we learned, here's how it works, and let everyone copy. This is one of those things where we love competition. We then want to start working with governments, where we can work out in a way where they can help us, help students, but in a way that governments don't do what governments do. The minute they want to start telling us what to do, we'd rather not take their money. But certainly we believe that we've created a model here which we'd then like to see other people expand and us expand as well. Knox, is that it? Okay, Knox is chasing me off the stage. So thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see some of you over the evening, but good luck for this year. And to the graduates of 24, I'll hopefully see you as alumni And to the students, please work hard, stay safe in your holidays, and I look forward to seeing you over the years and you're becoming alumni as well. Thank you very much.